What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports back again with another one. Got the latest news in regards to unified super middleweight champion Saul Canelo Alvarez and his proposed fight with WBA light heavyweight champion Dmitry Bivol. Boxing writer Lance Pujma is reporting that the Bivol camp is waiting on confirmation for a catchweight fight to take place between 168 and 175 pounds. Dmitry Bivol also states that if the fight does take place at 168 pounds, that he's going to need more time for his body to get acclimated to that weight, meaning that the proposed fight date of September 18th would have to get pushed back to later on in the year. Now, Canelo Alvarez has missed the last two Mexican Independence Days, the one in 2020 and the one in 2019. Now, the reason why the fight in 2019 got pushed back because Canelo Alvarez was at war with Golden Boy Promotions, in particular Oscar De La Hoya. So that fight got pushed back to, I think it was November? The Kovalev fight took place in November or December, one of the 2 months. But it definitely got pushed back off the September date in 2019. Now, September 2020, the reason why he didn't fight was because of COVID-19. So I find it hard to believe that Canelo Alvarez would be willing to not fight for the third consecutive year on Mexican Independence Day. I think he's hell-bent on fighting on September 18th. I think Dmitry Bivol and his team know that, so they're trying to put maximum pressure on Canelo Alvarez to basically fight him at 175 pounds. Worst case scenario, fight him at 172 pounds. But if you're talking about fight him at 168 or 169, 170, Bill will say, hold on, I'm going to need more time. I've been in camp thinking my next fight was going to be at light heavyweight, defending my WBA belt. Now I have to move down to 168 pounds. That's 7 pounds. I'm about to make that adjustment, and I need more time to do that. Canelo Alvarez was asking him like, hey, wasn't you the same dude that when asked if he would fight me at 168 pounds, he said, yes. And now you're sitting up here talking about, if you do have to fight me at the weight that you said you would need more time. Now you're not calling no shots, Dmitry. I am the shot caller. I am the man with the master plan. And the plan is for you to fight me on September 18th, or maybe you not fight me at all and lose out on a career high payday. That's what Canelo Alvarez can tell Dmitry Bivol. So we will see what happens and we will see what transpires. But that's the latest and the greatest on the developments of the Dmitry Bivol, Canelo Alvarez. This was a fight that I told you that was going to happen next. When everybody was in the frenzy, everybody was happy, everybody was excited. Everybody pretty much thought it was a done deal between Canelo Alvarez and Caleb Plant. I told you that the fight wasn't going to happen due to the fact that Eddie Hearn was involved. Never mind the fact that he said he wasn't involved in the negotiations. He was basically taking a back seat and letting Eddie Reynoso, who probably has never negotiated a fight in his life or negotiated a fight of this magnitude, for damn sure he ain't never done that. And for anybody to believe that he led the negotiations is asinine, answer 10, answer 11, and answer 12. If you believe that, that's asinine. There's no way that Eddie Reynoso was leading negotiations for that fight. But that's neither here nor there. That's what you call water under the bridge. And now we're here with Bivol versus Canelo. And we will see what happens. We will see what transpires. But I want to do a quick thing about Leonard Ellerbe, CEO of Mayweather Promotions. Boy, he's out here on Fight Hub going in on Canelo. He did it in a backhanded way. He was giving Canelo Alvarez compliments. Oh man, Canelo's a great fighter. He's a very talented fighter. But at the same time, he's like, man, this dude was fighting in 147 pounds and 154 pounds, and he couldn't bust a grape. Didn't have no power. You know what I'm saying? Now all of a sudden he going up to 168 and 175. He putting people to sleep and ain't even giving them NyQuil. Knocking bigger guys out. Knocked out Sergey Kovalev. Knocked out and stopped. Well, he didn't knock out, but he stopped Billy Joe Saunders. Knocked out Evgeny Yurtseven. You know what I'm saying? So Ellerbe is, he's basically saying that don't add up. Floyd Mayweather and his dad, Floyd Mayweather Sr. in particular, was talking about Manny Pacquiao. They was like, man, it's not natural what he doing. This dude came up from 105 pounds. You know what I'm saying? He come up here in these bigger weights and knocking guys out, stopping guys like Oscar De La Hoya and knocking out Ricky Hatton and people like that, man. It's not nothing we ever seen in boxing before, it's basically. And then basically, Ellerbe is going down that same road in regards to Canelo Alvarez, basically implying that Canelo Alvarez was on that juice, and he has failed. Well, he's already been caught with PDs on 2 separate occasions, so it ain't like Ellerbe ain't got, facts to back up his claims or to make him think that could be some shady business going on as far as Canelo Alvarez and his career in boxing. So it is what it is. He also said that one of the reporters asked him, do you think Canelo Alvarez is the best fighter in boxing? He said, nope, don't think so. I think Terrence Crawford is the best fighter in boxing today. He said even though Terrence Crawford has been inactive, that he still feels he's the best fighter. And he said the main reason why he don't think Canelo is the best fighter is due to his lack of competition in recent fights. He says, no disrespect to Abner Yurman and Billy Joe Saunders, but he said he ain't trying to see those type of fights. He don't want to see Canelo in them type of fights. Them fights are pretty much, everybody knows going to be the outcome before the fight even starts. Everybody knows that Canelo is going to win those fights. He said he wants to see him in more competitive fights. More fights with guys that's going to give him a fight. Guys that's not going to back down. Guys that's going to get in his ass, according to what Lenny Ellerbe said. Guys like Plant, Charlo, and Benavidez. And he basically said he can't beat Caleb Plant. He said Caleb Plant's style is all wrong for Canelo Alvarez. Remember the trainer of Apollo Creed told Apollo before he took that Rocky rematch, he's all wrong for us, babe. He's all wrong for us. It's basically what he's saying with Caleb Plant. He's all wrong for you, babe. I guess Eddie Reynoso need to be telling Canelo Alvarez, he's all wrong for us, babe. He's all wrong for us. But that's basically what Leonard Ellerbe is saying, man. That's basically what he's saying, man. He says he's all wrong for him. He say thing about Caleb Plant is people misjudge him. He's the type of fighter that he fights down to his competition. But if he's in there with a high caliber opponent, he rises to the occasion. Similar to what Tyson Fury does. You look at how he fought against Otto Wallin, and that fight he arguably should have lost. That fight should have been stopped due to that nasty cut over his eye. He struggled in that fight, and then he fought Deontay Wilder in the rematch. And, he looked like the best heavyweight in the division, man. Destroyed Deontay Wilder. Beat Deontay Wilder like we have never seen Deontay Wilder dominate in a fight like that. And he dominated him. You look at how he looked in other fights. He looked lackluster. In the Cunningham fight, he got dropped. And then you look at how he fought Vladimir Klitschko. Went in there and put on a boxing clinic. Dominated Klitschko. Basically disarmed Klitschko. You never seen Klitschko offensive output that low in a particular fight. He landed very to little to no significant punches in the whole 12 rounds of that fight. And that was Tyson Fury, who pretty much discombobulated Vladimir Klitschko. So you see what he did in that fight. He's a guy that rises to the occasion. I think Leonard Ellerbe was implying that Caleb Plant is a similar type of fighter that rises to the occasion, saying he's a very smart fighter, got a high boxing IQ, basically saying that his boxing mind will be an advantage for him against Canelo Alvarez. And I find that kind of hard to believe myself, because I think Canelo Alvarez is one of the smartest boxers in the game. And I rate Terrence Crawford, Canelo Alvarez, and Gervonta Tank Davis as fighters with the highest boxing IQ. So I believe that Caleb Plant has a high boxing IQ too, but he's got to be able to focus his mind in the second half of fights, because he seems to tire and he seems to get caught with more shots in the second half of the fight. That leads me to believe that he kind of loses focus. He lets that tiredness and that stamina issue kind of wear on his mentality in the fight. He's going to have to overcome those things. Canelo Alvarez had similar problems early on in his career. He seems to have overcome those problems. So we will see what happens. We will see what transpires, man. But he kind of went in on him, man. He basically said that Canelo Alvarez has definitely got to upgrade his opposition in his next fight. He can't fight Abner Yurman of the world, and he can't even fight guys that's probably a little bit better than Abner Yurman, Billy Joe Saunders. Who was a guy that held a belt, the WBO light heavyweight champion. My bad, the WBO super middleweight champion at the time he fought Canelo Alvarez. But he don't seem to be held in high regard in Leonard Ellerbe's mind. As he basically said, no knock on Billy Joe Saunders, but they ain't on the level of a Caleb Plant or a Jamal Charlo or a David Benavidez. A lot of people gonna say, oh yeah, he named 3 PBC fighters. He want Canelo to come over there and sign a multi-fight deal with the PBC. You know, those reports that surfaced that's what they first put forward when they was trying to negotiate the fight with Canelo Alvarez and Caleb Plant. And Canelo told him that he didn't want to be tied up. And then the PBC then pushed forward with a one-fight deal with Caleb Plant that would have secured Canelo Alvarez a record high payday, $40 million guaranteed minimum. And then you look at what he would have made off the pay-per-view and Henneke sponsorship. He probably would have walked away with at least $60 million in that fight. But somehow, some way, he turned down that fight. A lot of people speculating that he just didn't want to deal with Al Heyman. Maybe that was the case. I think it had a lot to do with Eddie Hearn. You know, Eddie Hearn threw a mucking wrench in the negotiations. He started throwing out outrageous demands, a one-way rematch clause. Basically, if Caleb Plant gets sick, he's still going to make the same money fighting a replacement fighter. Crazy demands like that pretty much put a kibosh on the fight. But that seems to me they put those demands in there because they knew Caleb Plant would not accept those demands. That's what you call making the guy that you really don't want to fight turn down the fight. That's exactly what Eddie Hearn was doing in the A.J. Wilder negotiation when he sent over a contract with no venue and no date, hoping that Team Wilder would throw up their hands and say, man, I'm not going to deal with this dude. This dude is just wasting my time. And Shelly Finkel knew that he was wasting his time, but he was trying to, at the behest of Deontay Wilder, who desperately wanted that fight, still tried to work with Eddie Hearn. And you see what it got them. It got them with no fight, and Anthony Joshua moved on to fight Alexander Povetkin, a fight that was always in the plan, and that was always going to be the end result. Exactly like the end result was always going to be Dimitri Bivol versus Canelo Alvarez. If Eddie Hearn had anything to do with it, he was never going to allow Canelo Alvarez to go over there and fight on a competitor's network on Fox. So we will see what happens and we will see what transpires. But that's the latest in negotiations with Dimitri Bivol and Canelo Alvarez as they're waiting on confirmation for a catch weight. So we will see what happens and we will see what transpires. Let me know your thoughts about Bivol versus Canelo negotiations. Let me know your thoughts about Leonard Ellerbe comments in regards to unified champion Canelo Alvarez. And follow me on Facebook, GerardBriscoe.3551, and subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. And I holla.